University, the key to the middle class promised land, or an empty deal wrapped in student debt? Nowadays, more than in any other time, this question is being asked from both sides of this schism dividing society. As more and more college dropouts try to become millionaires and extend their influence on young people, this debate seems hotter than ever. So, that is what we will be looking at today. We will analyze in this video first the negative aspects of going to college or university, like the outstanding student debt, the myriad of unlikely career options, and the impact that delaying your entry in the workforce will have. And then, in a subsequent video, we will unravel the positive effects of higher education, like the possibilities to rise to higher positions right after university or the higher average salaries. All to answer the question, is it even worth it going to university? Welcome to Rebel Economics, where today we will focus on university and higher education. It is important to mention that the only prism through which we will be analyzing this issue is economics. There will be positive and negative aspects of university attendance that will lie outside of our operational focus and will not be discussed. So first, let's take a look at the basic perspective of what universities bring to the world from an exclusively economic perspective. Now, again, many people will have different opinion as to whether the current higher education system is performing its economic role successfully, but we will not delve into that. Instead, this analysis is of what universities and colleges are expected to be from an economic perspective. Universities and other institutions of higher learning have one fundamental duty in any free capitalist system above all others: to take young would-be workers and sharpen their skills so that they can become a fundamental piece in the great machine of capitalism. Overall, the education system is simply a continuous effort of specialization, from general knowledge that children learn in school to more specialized subjects taught in high school to the specialization of a bachelor's program and eventual laser-focused curriculum of a master's and PhD. The virtues of a specialization in a capitalist environment were outlined by Adam Smith way back in the 18th century, where he argued that specialization would be the general objective of each player in the economy. From companies picking a niche and sticking to it in order to guarantee a higher degree of productivity derived from their focused, accumulated experience, as well as workers who would occupy a single spot in the production line instead of being moved around the entire industrial workshop. Nowadays, very few people would agree with Adam Smith in saying that it is desirable for individuals to perform a single, infinitely repeating task. But, even if not to the same degree, the need for specialized individuals in a capitalist world has not changed. In our video on what the consulting industry is, we talked about our concept of operational focus, where we expressed the better outcomes that come from companies sticking to their main economic activity and, insofar as it is possible, delegating the rest to other companies, specialized on the very task that they are hired to perform. You can check that video if you want, and maybe click like and subscribe to Rebel Economics if you're enjoying our content. So thank you. So, from a very basic perspective, this is the role that universities and other higher education institutions to sharpen the skills of a population to turn them from generally knowledgeable individuals to specialized workers. We will later on show, on average, how college-educated workers receive a higher salary than their counterparts without those fancy diplomas. The reason for this, at least from a classical economic perspective, is the increase in productivity that derives from their specialization. The natural evolution of a capitalist society has led universities to gain a lot of power in sharpening a nation's workforce. As the main gatekeepers to the middle class, higher education institutions are left with the worst possible combination of factors in an economy: a limited supply and an endless demand. The exorbitant cost of higher education in places like the US stems from this notion. The entire population knows that the most secure way to guarantee a well-paying job in your mid-20s is to go to university. With the price of living ever increasing, if you ever dreamed of owning a house not inherited from your parents, you better go to university. This is the known deal of the modern capitalist society. Therefore, people who can afford it, or more likely can get a loan, decide to go to university. This imbalance between such large demand and a limited supply, since at the end of the day there are a limited number of universities, drove the prices of the aforementioned services through the roof. I think up till this point, everything presented is fairly common sense. The role of universities having been shown, now let's delve into the second section of this video, why you should not decide to go to university. For full disclosure, I think I should say that I went to university and that I had a great time there. I learned a lot about economics and business, and without it, my English would suck a lot more. But I should also say that until we started this channel, I had not used anything I learned from university in a single one of my jobs. I mentioned that I had worked in marketing and sales before transitioning to the technical consultant role that I currently have. And in neither of those did I find a single occasion to talk about liquidity traps and inflation. It's sad, I know. But perhaps more surprisingly, the business that I learned in uni was tremendously useless when I joined the workforce. I remember learning marketing theories when the market claimed for SEO analysis and copywriting, and how to calculate crazy financial ratios, but not once how to file a tax statement. I was very disappointed when I realized the truth of how hollow my education had been. I don't know if this is a generalizable assumption. Maybe some other people have had different experiences, and if so, I am happy for you. But I picked business and economics, not just because of the fun of it, though with time I learned to love it, or because they would help me to meet people at parties, spoiler alert, they didn't, but because I thought I would be employable as hell when I left uni. So it was a disappointment for me, and that is going to be our first point of our analysis. Universities don't teach skills that are valued in the workplace. This might seem like a generalizing statement, and to a certain degree, it is, and I am sure this fluctuates between universities and sectors. But in general, I do believe that universities are inherently focused on a theoretical framework that will likely not be used when those students reach the workforce. I will be focusing on social sciences, especially economics and business degrees, since I don't feel qualified to talk about any others. But again, if your experience has been different, good for you, you picked well. I believe that there are three fundamental factors driving this adherence of universities to the theoretical frameworks that make them ignore the somewhat more utilitarian and execution-focused needs of the market. Factor number 1, the sheer speed of change of many sectors. For a long time, higher education environments might afford using the same syllables for years on end, but we are living through a time of rampant innovation, where every sector is getting disrupted, and the way of doing things is continuously evolving. Think again on a business course about marketing. 20 years ago, it might have been focused on TV advertising and the creation of customer personas, talking about the 4 P's of marketing and the power of placing. But man, think about how much it should have changed for it to still be worth it today. Moving from the emergent ads on the internet to SEO and Google ads, to social media ads, to influencer marketing. And yes, the 4 P's of marketing are still relevant, but the idea of placement has evolved from where in the supermarket to put your detergent to when in a YouTube video you should place your ad. So it would require a constant effort of innovation. I can say that in my marketing course, we talked for ages about marketing theories, and not once about SEO, Google Ads, or influencer marketing. And you may say, well, theories are important, and sure, maybe they are, but not once about the areas where promotion of products happens nowadays? Factor number 2. Theory is testable, practice not so much. Universities are academic environments, where the knowledge of individuals should be measured and graded to determine those that understood the lessons and those that didn't. All of this makes perfect sense, but the unexpected impact that this has is a clear bias towards theoretical constructs instead of practical abilities. At the end of the day, theoretical frameworks have only one place in almost any industry: academia. Outside, in the real world, there are very few chances to apply theoretical knowledge to the day-to-day execution of one's jobs. Again, talking about social sciences here. And even when theory can help, the true measure of success will be the execution based on a theory, but not just the theory itself. The impact that universities focusing on teaching theory has is therefore tremendous, because in many sectors, young workers that should leave university with a modicum of experience on how to do things that will be required to do at their jobs are left clueless, but with extensive theoretical knowledge. I don't think it is impossible to transition from a theory-first perspective on universities towards one that embodies the practical needs of a real work environment. Now, I am not saying to stop making students write essays, but perhaps the grades should be split evenly with the practical project? Like, 50% of the grades should go to an essay on the 4 P's of marketing, sure. But 50% should also be on developing a Google Ads campaign with a click-through rate of at least 3%, or something like this. Factor number 3. Teachers don't know about the current state of their industries. Not to be hard on university professors, but there is a reason why so many people are deciding to take online courses on topics that are actually useful, taught by actual experts in the field that have actually achieved something in the past. Now, a word in defense of university professors. They are not always in control of their curriculum, so perhaps there are other structures that impede the ability of the content they teach. But in many other cases, it is simply easier for them to teach the same concepts that they have taught for 20 years than actually research where the market is at. To compensate for this notion, I think professors should be encouraged and not shamed for realizing the limits of their knowledge and bringing actual experts into their class. I understand that modern areas of expertise are so deep that no single person can know about them all, and asking that of professors is really not realistic. But they should invite experts over, focus on their theoretical expertise, and delegate more niche areas. Factor number 4. University is too expensive. You were probably waiting for this one. Using data from the Federal Reserve, as of 2022, there are $1.75 trillion in student debts in the US alone. That is somewhere around the GDP of South Korea. That is crazy. Plain and simple. There are very few economic activities that deserve such a price mark, and it is astounding that we have let education become one of them. There are many reasons for this. Some of them we presented before, but the main reason is the role of universities as the gatekeepers to the middle class. The sheer power that they have in deciding who to let into the comfortable existence promised by the American dream is tremendous and scary. Put in perspective, many students think the exorbitant price point of an undergraduate diploma is worth it to join that comfortable sector of the population. Of course, depending on which major one decides to take, their ascension to the middle class may be more or less guaranteed, since at the end of the day, deciding to go to university or not should be an economic decision. Every student should consider the potential earnings of the job they will get against the very real cost of education that will make them eligible for that position. From a strictly economic perspective, it just does not pay to be swallowed in student debt for a degree in a profession that does not guarantee the middle class status, more often than not exemplified in earning access to a job that pays well enough to satisfy their economic needs. There is much to say about the terrible and borderline predatory practices of higher education. First and foremost, the absolute bonkers notion of pushing 18-year-olds to commit to one of the most important financial decisions in their life. But it is as of now undoubtable that higher learning institutions hold tremendous power in filtering out those that have reached the middle class from those that will be cursed to live paycheck to paycheck. This is not fair. And I believe that higher education system is ripe for a takeover by some daring companies offering everything that they're refusing to do: updated knowledge, practical skills, and competitive pricing. Some companies are already chipping away at the monopolistic power of universities, with MBAs that are focused on actual skills that people would use for just $2,000. But the ball, at least from my perspective, rests in the court of companies. At the end of the day, universities are just diploma machines, but those diplomas only have power because companies see them as meaningful. And let me be clear, There are some industries in which higher education is completely necessary. Think of medicine, or engineering, or even law. But there are others in which the impact of all of these aforementioned points led many students to incur the cost of education artificially inflated by institutions with price-setting ability without experiencing the economic benefits of such an investment. The reality is that on average, based on research by the Social Security Administration of the US, college graduates earn almost $1 million more in lifetime earnings than their counterparts. And again, in some areas this makes sense, like doctors, lawyers, and engineers, who are paid extremely well. But companies should contemplate more aspects as proof of ability than just a diploma in other sectors. This might chip away at the outstanding market power of universities, lower the barriers of entry to the middle class, and maybe save millions of young workers from starting their working lives with debt that they might not ever be able to repay. Thank you for watching Rebel Economics. Hope you enjoyed your video today on why you should not go to university. Keep your eyes out for the sequel to this one on why you actually should go. This helps us cover this debate from every possible perspective and service both sides of this debate appropriately. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing and checking out some other videos right now on your screen. I will see you in the next one.